Well, hello everybody, and today we're going to be talking about how to release your worry, stress, and anxiety. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this right at the end of the year is because in order for you to prepare and go into the next year really hopeful, really focused on what you want, you're going to need to release and deal with some of the stress in your life. And I had a pretty big incident at my house this week that caused some major stress. So we're going to talk about that coming up next. Welcome to the channel, everybody. My name is Dee Burks, and this is Retirement Rescue, where we talk about all things retirement and basically living the pre-retirement or retired life. Now, one of the things that I've really wanted to address for a little while is worry and anxiety. Now, the past few years, no question, have been filled with worry and anxiety. I mean, no question, we've all felt it, right? Life hasn't been anywhere close to normal. We keep thinking we're gonna come out of this. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna come out of this, and it just seems like things keep going on and being negative. We have inflation. We have all kinds of issues that we didn't have 2 years ago. But 2 years ago, we had health concerns and major shutdowns. And so it has just felt like life has been this wad of mess and anxiety. And it has been. It absolutely has been. But I always tell people that one of the cures for that is to focus on what you can control. But let's talk about what you can't control, because that's what happened at my house this week. As many of you experienced, we had this major blast of cold air, really unusually cold air. I mean, it gets cold where I live. I live in the mountains. But this was unusually cold air. In my area, we got down to about -7 with -28 wind chills. That's unusually cold. I've lived here 6 years. It's never been that cold. Actually, it's never even been close to that cold. So especially with the wind chill, that was something that was out of the ordinary for a lot of the country. It wasn't just a little bit of a departure from average. It was a big one. And basically, as you all know, I've been putting in a wood stove. So I had depleted part of my emergency fund to put in that wood stove because I felt like it was a priority. Well, during this major blast, my water heater froze, my pipes froze, my intakes froze for my water heater, and I did not hear that water heater come on for 2 solid days when it was -25, -28. And I thought, y'all, I have an ice cube sitting in my water heater. This is what I was afraid of. That is frozen solid, my pipes are frozen, and of course, what immediately happens, you immediately go down into that shutdown stress mode of, oh my God, this is going to cost me thousands of dollars. It's right at Christmas. The people who would normally help me with stuff like this are gone visiting family. There are absolutely no plumbers or contractors available at all. And even if you could find one, it's going to be February. It is just not an option just to call somebody else. That's one of the minuses of living in rural America. But here we are. And so I was really stressing. I mean, 2 in the morning, I'm on YouTube looking up how do you put in a new water heater. I'm trying to figure out how do I, keep it from flooding my closet in there. I was just really stressing about it and just sleepless nights. And I'm sure you all have things that are causing you that same kind of anxiety. Maybe it's illness. Maybe it's an illness of a family member. Maybe it's financial. Who knows? You all have experienced this, and I was really experiencing it. And I realized, like the day after I stayed up till 2 in the morning, looking up videos, you know what? This isn't the end of the world. One of the things none of us control is the weather. There's nothing we can do about that. So I just really tried to be grateful for what I have. Number one, I had a warm house. That's something. There were no rolling blackouts where I live. That's something. I did have cold water. I could at least cook and do a few things. That's something. I realized these are little somethings, but they're something, you know. And so I started coming up with a plan. Okay, what are you actually going to do about this instead of sitting and stressing? And that's one of the things I think a lot of us do when things just feel so out of control, is we sit and we stress and we run it through our minds. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Instead of making a plan and thinking, okay, here's what we're going to do. And so I tried to make a plan. And so I decided the first decent day, and let me tell you what, a day above 20 degrees felt completely balmy at this point. I mean, I'm sure y'all experienced that too, because I had gone out one day during those horrific wind chills because I needed to feed my fat ferals, my little kitties outside, because I didn't want them to starve to death while it's so cold. And it was so cold, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in Canada right now. I've been to Canada a few times in like January, February. That's what it felt like. It's like your face hurts. Ah, that's why I don't live there. But it felt like that. And so the first day it was above 20 degrees. I went outside. I didn't even have a coat on because it felt so balmy. And I went and I checked my water heater, which the door opens to the outside. It was completely frozen. But the little indicator light said all is well. And of course, your first instinct when that happens is to say, okay, the indicator light is completely delusional. It all is not well, clearly. But I thought, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it right now. I can't stress over it. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to go with little indicator light. We're going to assume all is well, and I'm going to come out here and check on it several times a day. By the next day, it had completely unfrozen. It turned out just the lines were frozen. The pilot light was enough to actually keep the water from freezing on the inside of this thing, even though the door opens to the outside and it was very cold. And the next day, everything is fine. It's not leaking. I've gone out there and checked it several times. But y'all, let me tell you what, that stress can really hit you hard. It can ruin a holiday. It can ruin your week. It can cause you not to sleep. So I totally get it. But the only thing you can do is focus on how to move forward. Now, my last video where I talked about the death of my cat, Evan, I also talked about the other things that I have going on in my life. And one of you, I believe it was Okie Jammer, commented and listed all the things that I had talked about that I have going on. And they were like, oh, wow, that's a lot. And you know, it didn't seem like a lot when I was talking about it. But when you read it, where someone else has written down your list of stuff you have going on, I thought, oh my God, I have a lot going on. Oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to get all this stuff done? Instant anxiety again. But you know what? One of the things I do between Christmas, and today is Christmas Day, by the way, Christmas and New Year's every year, is I really reflect and make a plan for the next year. And I'm going to be talking about that on the next video on how you do that. But before you even get there, it is so important that you release that anxiety, that you decide, okay, I'm going to make a plan. I'm not just going to sit here and complain. I'm not going to sit here and worry and lose sleep. I'm going to actually make a plan, and make a plan that involves things you control. You don't control the weather. You do not control our political environment. You do not control inflation. There are so many things you don't control. But you can control your plan and how you're going to respond this year and the things that you're going to focus on. So I just kind of wanted to talk with you on Christmas Day and encourage you to go ahead and start releasing that anxiety. There is nothing you can do about a lot of these things. And tell yourself today, I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to make a plan. There's something about that decision to make a solid plan to move forward with what you need to do that makes you feel so much better. It's forward progress. And when you sit and you stew, y'all, that's not forward progress, and it feels awful. So don't sit and stew. And this next week, I'm going to talk to you about how to make that plan, how to decide what to focus on, how to create something that you're really going to be excited about this next year. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining this channel, and I will see you next time.